Trick-or-treat!
Happy Halloween, kids. Here you go.
Ray, I love Halloween. Even though it's insanely busy for us, it's really still my favorite holiday.
Oh, me too, Jeff. I love the spooky decorations,
Yeah.
the candy, the costumes. Well, and of course, the scary movies.
Ooh, right, of course. Well, what are some of your favorites, Ray?
You know, I have so many, but I love Scream, Halloween,
Right.
and the original Friday the 13th.
Okay, so you go for like the slasher
Yeah.
films. Yeah, okay, I get it. Well, I prefer the more like psychological scares, but if you make me jump out of my seat, I'm pretty much on board.
Yeah, Halloween's a time for scary movies and haunted places for sure.
Okay, so there's this house in Burrillville, Rhode Island.
Ooh.
It's a house where something happened back in the 1970s.
Okay.
Something creepy enough that it would go on to inspire a 2013 movie called The Conjuring.
Of course, I love that movie. It's about famed paranormal investigators Ed and Lorrain Warren's case.
Right, that's the one. So, Ray, for Halloween this year, you and I are going trick-or-treating at the Conjuring house. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to our Halloween special, episode 115 of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England, 1 week and one story at a time. And being Halloween, this episode is different for us.
Right.
As many of you already know, most of our episodes are about 10 minutes in length. But this one is going to be a bit longer because there's a lot to cover.
Yeah, that there is. And would like to thank our Patreon patrons who are sponsoring this special Halloween episode.
Thank you.
This is a grassroots show. It's just us and our army of listeners. And it's our patrons who keep us going with our hosting costs, production costs, marketing costs, and so much more. If you'd like to join the movement and help us out, head over to patreon.com/New England Legends. And for as little as $3 per month, you'll get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes that nobody else gets to hear.
Now, between our website, ournewenglandlegends.com, our super secret Facebook group, the New England Legends television series on PBS and Amazon Prime, and Jeff's ongoing story tour, we're amassing an army of legend hunters sharing stories from all over the northeastern United States. And we're glad that you're with us. You can also help by spreading the word. Tell a friend or two about us, or post a review of our show. All of that helps.
It sure does. Okay, Ray, first, the Conjuring movie.
All right, we should warn people that there will be some spoilers here.
Oh, there will. You have no idea there will. But let's face it, the movie came out in 2013, so if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to worry about spoiling anything.
That's right. And Darth Vader is really Luke Skywalker's father.
What?
Nothing.
Huh, okay. So anyway, a little bit about the movie. The Conjuring movie begins with the line, based on a true story. And then it follows paranormal investigators Ed and Lorrain Warren.
Played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga.
Right. In the movie, Ed and Lorrain are asked to come to the home of Roger and Carolyn Perron.
Played by Ron Livingston and Lily Taylor.
So according to the movie, it's the early 1970s, and the Perron family are experiencing some strange phenomena in their new house. The activity has the family scared. Ed and Lorrain Warren are brought in. They determine there's an evil presence that they call Bathsheba Sherman, who's trying to make Carolyn kill her children the same way Bathsheba murdered her own back in the day.
The activity ramps up even further. Objects fly off the wall, the family is attacked, and suddenly Ed Warren is forced to conduct an emergency exorcism as the house tries to eat Lorraine. Luckily, the exorcism works, and everybody lives happily ever after.
Right. That's the movie in a nutshell.
Right.
Fully spoiled. Now, let's talk about what really happened. Are you ready?
Well, I'm ready.
The house was built in 1736. It's formally known as the Richardson-Arnold estate because the Richardson family built it, and the Arnold family lived here the longest. The land that the estate was built on dates all the way back to land granted by Rhode Island founder Roger Williams.
That's the same Roger Williams that we learned back in episode 108 was eaten by an apple tree.
Yeah, that's the guy.
So basically, this house has been around since before the United States was the United States.
That's right.
When this house was built, the owners still had to worry about Indian attacks. There were once special windows on the second floor where you'd open the window, slide your rifle outside, and ward off attacks.
This house has seen some stuff, centuries of history, but let's begin in January of 1971. Roger and Carolyn Perron move in with their 5 daughters. Now, on the day they move in, the former owner is still inside trying to move out the last of his things. Not convenient or ideal, but that's what's going on. Still, something strange happens, which we'll get to just a little bit later. And that strange thing tells this family they've just moved into a haunted house.
So 2 years go by and the parents are growing more concerned. Sometimes they would hear footsteps or see apparitions. Other times, weeks would go by and nothing would happen. Finally, one day, Carolyn Perron sees this ad in a local paper from the Rhode Island College Paranormal Group. The ad says they'll investigate homes for free, so Carolyn calls.
Two of the people on the team at the time are twins Keith and Carl Johnson, two guys I've actually known for quite a long time. Now, Keith said the first time he walked into the house, he saw this black, shadowy cloud moving through the basement. He saw the fear in the family, and he knew this case was for real. So the Johnson brothers call Ed and Lorrain Warren.
Once Ed and Lorrain Warren get to the house, they also believe there is something legitimate here. So they tell the parents they have to kick out these kids from Rhode Island College and leave it to the professionals. And so that's what the parents do.
So the Warrens continue to investigate until everything comes to a head. But before we get too far into that, I should let you know that something happened recently related to this case, Ray.
All right, what's that?
Well, someone I know bought the Conjuring house in Burrillville, Rhode Island.
No way.
Yeah, and we've been invited over for an exclusive audio look inside.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Our legendary listeners know that we take them into each story every week. But this is going to be a little different.
Right.
This time we want to give you the raw tour of the house so you're right there with us every step of the way.
So let's head down to Burrillville, Rhode Island and go trick-or-treating.
All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
I think so.
Yeah, we're right outside the Conjuring house.
We're on the grounds here, and it's pretty amazing.
And it's Halloween.
Halloween.
So
Happy
let's do this.
Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
I couldn't think of a better place to be in New England than right here, right now.
I'm with you.
All
Here we
right.
go. Trick or treat.
Oh,
Hi, guys.
what's going on, guys?
Hey, so we're here with Corey and Jen. Hello, Corey.
How you guys doing?
Jen.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting us into your
Yeah,
home.
we appreciate it.
Yeah. So
This is the Conjuring home.
this is the Conjuring home.
Okay.
We are in what used to be the original barn, correct?
Yes, this was originally the barn, woodshed, tool shed, whatever they wanted to call it.
Now, what's the structure as we came in? There was another barn there.
That barn, that's the original barn from 1832. Withstood all these hurricanes and stuff throughout the years. So.
Jen, tell us about what happened when Corey said to you, "Hey, there's this house I want to buy in Rhode Island."
I was like, what house is that? So when he explained to me it was the Conjuring house for sale, I said, okay, let's do it.
Did he not say it and just played the movie? He goes, well, hold on. I
I'd
got a
seen
movie
it
to show
anyways.
you.
I had seen it anyways.
Okay.
I've seen all the movies. I know
Yeah.
all about it.
How'd you feel about that?
I actually honestly didn't think it would all work. It's one of those things where you just try not to get excited because you think it's never actually going to happen. So I'm like, sure, let's try it.
Corey, what
It
happened
won't
to
happen.
what happened to the previous owners?
The previous owners, I think they just had enough of trespassers and stuff like that, and they just thought it was time to sell.
So when did you move in? What was the day?
We finished paperwork and everything June 21st.
And it was June 22nd, by the way, that I reached out to Corey. and I said, hey. And he said, hey, we met at the Mount Washington Hotel at this paranormal event. And he said, would you want to come to the Conjuring house? And I said, sure. And he said, do you want to come tonight? And I said, yes.
Did you reach out to the previous owners? Because they weren't
I
as
knew Norma.
welcoming.
Yeah, no, I knew Norma. She came to one of my talks right after the movie came out.
Yeah.
And I remember her telling me that the movie had caused a lot of problems for her.
Right.
That she and her husband, who was alive at the time, would be in this house at night, and at 10 o'clock at night, all of a sudden you'd see flashes come through the window. People hold their phones and cameras up to the window and would take pictures.
Ah.
And so this was like a huge problem for them because they had nothing to do with the movie, right? The movie was about the Perron family and so on, which we discussed earlier, and
Right.
And so they had nothing to do with it. And so for the longest time, I think this was a real problem for her. And they were not spring chickens, right? They were older, and so I think she was ready to sell the house.
time.
Time to move on. And Corey and Jen purchased it, and now here we are on Halloween, which is amazing.
All right, can we take a tour?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's,
All right.
Moving on to the next room.
All right. So we're going up a couple of stairs from the former barn, and there's this old hardwood floor, and you've got some cots laid out in here. What room is this, Corey?
This used to be one of the bedrooms. I believe it was the bedroom that Roger built for Carolyn after the seance that went bad.
How much of this is original?
This is all original to my understanding. The only thing that was changed, honestly, that I know of is the wallpaper.
Okay. Which still looks relatively old.
Right. And this is a 1730s house.
Yes, it is.
It says out front, what was it,
36.
1736? Okay. Has anything happened in this room to you guys?
We've had flashes of light, not from photographers or anything like that, but just blasts of energy, I guess you could say.
Can you feel that energy? Just on a daily basis, walking through the house, can you feel that, Jen?
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
It's very obvious.
Yes. Yeah. It's a heavy feeling sometimes, and sometimes it's just fine.
How do you feel, Ray? I mean, this is your first time in the house.
You know what house you're in. You've seen the movie, you know the stories, so you're automatically going to feel something when you come in, and whether that's psychological or an actual presence here. So I do feel a weight, you know?
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's keep moving because this is a live tour. All right. Yep.
It's getting darker, by the way, and
It
that
is getting
staircase
dark.
just scared me.
Yes, so there's a great old fireplace here on one side of us. This is would this be the old living room, dining room? What was this?
This was the old baking room. This is where they used to cook all their meals and stuff like that. So that's what we call it, the baking room.
And there's a great fireplace with like this beehive stonework, which I imagine you're going to make pizzas in one day.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, and I love the wood beams above our heads,
Yep.
and this wide plank flooring. It feels like if you've been to Old Sturbridge Village,
Sure,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
Doesn't this sort of feel like walking
Yeah.
into one of those homes?
This is New England. This is
yeah.
old school New England,
Definitely.
for sure. So what's happened in this room, Jen?
This room, when Corey and I were laying in the room, we were just in a cot where you can see into this room in a bed. This is the room where we saw a black shadow figure in the doorway.
What do you think at that moment?
I think my heart stopped.
Does this stuff scare you, or are you used to it by now?
That's probably the only thing that scared me so far. And it wasn't necessarily that I felt like it was going to hurt me. It just was like, were you really seeing what you're really seeing?
Was the shape of that of a human being, or just a? Yeah, it was.
Yep.
We should mention, Corey, you're a paranormal investigator before this. This wasn't just, let me buy the Conjuring house. This is an interest of yours, right?
Absolutely.
How long have you been an investigator?
Just a little over 10 years now.
Okay. So this obviously made your radar.
Oh, absolutely.
And have you ever experienced anything other than what you've been experiencing here? Is this like the pinnacle of what you do?
For the most part.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more to it. I mean, it just hasn't really reared its head
Surfaced yet? Yeah.
All right, well, let's keep
All
moving.
right.
There's a lot to see.
We're moving forward.
Yep. Watch the wires.
Yet. And the cameras. Yeah.
So you guys have closed circuit cameras pretty much on every room.
Yes, we have it rigged up like Big Brother in here.
Yeah.
Now,
see.
why is that?
It's something's always happening. I mean, we like to think like the whole, if a tree falls in the wood, it doesn't make a noise.
Right.
I think it does, so.
Have you seen anything? Have you caught anything?
All the time.
Really? Wow.
All the time.
We'll take a look definitely before
Yeah,
we go.
okay.
So this is the seance room. I see 2 Ouija boards on the fireplace mantle over here. And tell us about this room, Jen. Or freeze. It's okay. We're live.
I'll let Corey tell the history
Okay,
of it. He's
go ahead.
better at the actual history of it than
This
I
is the room that the seance took place. The Warrens had brought in a medium to try to conjure up whatever it was.
Now, in the movie, that was in the basement, right?
That was in the
Okay.
basement, but I mean, a seance is a kind of exorcism, just like they do
Sure.
down in the basement. But the medium was actually supposed to conjure it up. It's supposed to go through her. Well, it didn't. It went after Carolyn and threw her into the room we just came out of.
Wow.
And we learned way back in episode 3 of the New England Legends
Long time
podcast
ago.
when we spoke to Roger Perron.
That's right. Yeah.
He described, and actually we've got a clip that we'll play. So
Okay.
this is what Roger said.
Ed came over to me and started pulling on me and trying to drag me away from her. And I just got up and I called him a pretty bad name and I just turned around and whacked him. And I think he ended up losing that tooth, but it was not a good thing. That was about the worst thing that happened to me in that house.
I noticed there's the what's that game called?
It's an old flip cup game.
Is there a reason why that is on the table right there?
We just got a bunch of older toys strewn around the house, just for
In case,
Yeah.
if there's a child here.
Trigger objects, we would call that in the paranormal. Yeah.
You'll
Well,
find
let's,
out upstairs.
yeah. All right, let's move into the kitchen.
All right.
Do you want to see the library?
Oh,
Right.
yes.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Let's go. I'll follow you.
All right. Yeah. We're wired
There's a
together.
partition in the middle here. We would have
Yeah.
messed up our wires.
So this is a library. It's
Ooh.
filled with books that belonged to Norma's husband, right?
Norma and her husband. Yes.
And so there's a lot of psychology books in here that I've already perused at another time, and it's just filled wall to wall. I don't see any of my books here, which is unfortunate. No Weird Massachusetts, no nothing. We'll have to correct that, I
We'll
guess.
have to add that to our library.
Yeah, definitely. Has anything happened in here?
Yes. So this is, I'll show you. This book right here we've captured coming off the shelf twice.
And which book is it?
Oops. Whoa.
Moral Relativity by David B. Wong.
Yes.
Huh.
2 separate occasions.
Same book.
These balls that we have set up in the chair, those have also, we've gotten on video coming off.
All right.
Can you read into that book and why that book came off the shelf? You
Moral-
were doing some thinking there.
So you know what? So moral relativity, like as we're going to discuss pretty soon, the story of Bathsheba Sherman troubles me, right? Because I think that
She was so predominant in the movie.
she's the villain. She's
Right,
the monster.
exactly, yeah.
And I think that's unfounded. And I think that we kind of have an obligation to get it right.
True.
So yeah. So we'll talk more about that very soon.
Let me ask you this. If it's not Bathsheba, who is the villain? Have you guys figured that out yet?
No.
When Andrea Perron first moved in fact, let's take this to the kitchen,
Okay.
which is the next room. When Andrea first moved in, she told me that during the day they moved in, the previous owner was still moving out. And so they're bringing in boxes, he's bringing out boxes. And she brought a box into the kitchen, and she saw a man standing here, and she said in old-time clothes, kind of leaning against the wall. He looked out of place, but she figured he must be with the previous owner. And so now we're in the kitchen area. There's this great old
Dining room?
table, dining room.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's again, this looks like old Sturbridge Village to
It
me.
does.
Another fireplace, an old musket above the fireplace.
The house is larger inside than it appears on the outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, for sure. And so, so now this is the kitchen area. Even the bathroom looks. I mean, though it's got modern toilets and stuff, it just looks like you're in the 1700s, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Bathroom's my favorite. It's just beautiful.
One of the things we missed when we first walked in, there's actually an old privy that's not used anymore, right?
There is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the kitchen area. So this is where, and Andrea had said she believed it was John Arnold. That's who she believed she saw.
Yeah.
And the other sisters had seen the same man. And at one point they come in and he just sort of dissipates right in front. And then they say, oh my goodness, this is not someone here with the previous owner. This is someone who's just here.
Right.
And so.
I have heard her talk about that story as well. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's head upstairs.
All right, so now we're ascending the staircase. It's steep.
It is very.
Is this normal for that time period? A farmhouse, I would imagine, right? This is
This.
odd.
Yeah.
Does not have a light in it.
Okay.
Oh, this is creepy.
This would be the master bedroom.
Okay, I'm standing up, and if I even go on my tippy toes, I'm going to hit my head on the ceiling.
This is my kind of room.
This is Ray's kind of room.
Short, I've never even hit the ceiling
Right.
jumping.
I'm 6'2", so I'm saying this roof is 6'3".
Well, the average person was what, 5'5" back then? That's true.
Right.
All right, so we have toys on the floor here, and what have we experienced with these toys so far?
We actually caught that softball getting thrown off the register the other night.
So there's a softball sitting on an old time radiator, and it was behind Alf, which is great. Alf doll is sitting on the floor, and there's some various other toys, some blocks. I see some like Matchbox type cars, and then of course you've got a couple of chairs. It's pretty. Otherwise, the room is empty, and there's another fireplace, and a vent where we can see down below. So this, and you can see. Actually, we'll see in a second. This house has had some additions, right? Because we're going to find a window in a second.
Yes. The addition was put in right above Andrew and Roger's bedroom.
All right, let's keep moving. So we're going through a very narrow doorway. It's dark because it's early evening now. Okay, Jen just turned on a light. And now
there's the doll.
there's a Raggedy Ann
Wonderful.
doll.
Wasn't that the original? It wasn't what we saw in the movie.
Right.
But that original doll was a Raggedy Ann doll.
The original Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann doll. And I remember meeting Annabelle at Ed and Lorrain Warren's house in their basement museum.
Encased in a glass, just like in the movie.
encased in glass. And the funny thing was, Ed told the story so well. This was long before the movie. This was back in like the late 80s, early 90s when Ed first told me about the story. And what freaked me out is my sister had the same Raggedy Ann doll, like the same one. So there's a little homage, I guess, to Annabelle, which has nothing in the world to do with the Conjuring story. The Annabelle story...
Just Ed and Lorrain.
It's just Ed and Lorrain.
It was a great way to start the movie.
Right. Yeah. But no connection otherwise.
Right.
Absolutely not.
All right.
This middle bedroom is the bedroom that we have a lot of activity in as far as flashing lights, as well as the master bedroom with no lights in there.
And one of the Perron sisters, this is where a lot of stuff happened to her that she has a difficult time up in here.
This was not the oldest one. Was it the youngest one? No, it wasn't the youngest
I'm
either.
not sure which one it is.
Yeah, there was this a bunch.
The sheets got pulled off her.
She would get like her legs yanked, hair pulled, and stuff like that.
I don't remember which one either.
Yeah.
The youngest sister used to say over and over, according to Andrea, that there's 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall. 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall.
Like in her sleep, or just
over
chanting?
and over, almost like chanting it. Now, we've been through this house. There's no wall thick enough to put a human body. However, outside, just outside, there's a retaining wall, and we know. I mean, the King Philip's War wasn't far from here. There's been all kinds of activity for centuries. You got to realize this is going on almost 3 centuries that this house has been here. So who knows what's just 15 feet off the foundation of this house?
True.
I love the window. That
So this they could
separates
see that would have
yeah.
been the addition because there's an actual window in the bedroom.
So so this is the addition
This
that we're
is the
looking at.
addition,
The next room we're going into right
Right.
here. Big chalkboard.
Andrea's bedroom.
Okay.
Andrews. Okay.
Yep, she talks about putting the bed right here in front of the doorway and the window so that if they were laying down at night that it could actually see whatever might come at them.
Andrea told me one of the scariest things she told me is that the thing about a real haunting is that sometimes days, weeks go by, nothing happens. And then something does. And she used to say you'd be upstairs doing your homework or whatever, and you'd hear footsteps coming up the stairs. And you never knew if it was mom and dad telling you dinner's
Right.
ready or if it was something that you couldn't see and couldn't wrap your hands around. That, to me, is a lot more frightening than like something leaping out of the walls.
Sure.
Because it just sort of chips away at you.
It's the
little
things that
by
go
little.
bump in the night.
Yeah, it's the things that bump in the night.
Yeah.
And so have you guys have slept here a few times now in the last couple of months?
Yeah.
Have you noticed any pattern to what makes it quiet or what makes it not quiet?
Certain individuals, when they come here, like it'll really amp up the activity in here. But just like you said, like a lot of times it'll go for like
Hit
a
or
week.
miss, yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that it's a certain event or a certain person that comes in here that may spark some of that activity?
Carl Johnson.
Carl Johnson.
It loves Carl. For some reason.
Well, even Roger, when Roger's
yeah,
here.
Roger Perron too.
Yep.
Okay.
So funny thing about Carl Johnson, Carl and his brother Keith, they were the first investigators in this house.
Yeah.
It's completely left out of the story. There's a photograph where you can see Carl, little 18-year-old Carl, with Lorrain Warren and with Carolyn Perron in the basement, which is where we're going to go next, by the way. And Carolyn Perron had answered an ad that was put in a local paper saying, we do paranormal investigations from Rhode Island College. They come out. Keith and Carl investigate and said, wow, something seems to be going on here. Let's reach out to Ed and Lorrain Warren and bring
Right.
them in. And
Who's
Lorrain
above
Warren-
their pay grade at that point?
Right, and also I think they were looking like, hey, look at us. We
Yeah.
found a cool case we could work with these people that were icons back
Yeah.
then. And Ed and Lorraine Warren come here, and they kind of take over the case to the point of telling them, you can't work with the Rhode Island College kids, told the parents, you have to work with us. We're the pros. They're nervous, so, of course, that's what they did.
Right.
So with that, can we head down to the basement?
If any of the viewers want to know where the boarding room is.
There's no viewers. This is
Well,
audio.
Well, any of the audio listeners.
Yeah.
That's the boarding room right off the side
What's the
here.
boarding room?
The boarding room is the room that they used way back when to birth children.
Oh, my goodness.
But
Can
in
we-
her book, she talks about how haunted it is in there.
well, let's just peek inside.
All right.
Probably 100 degrees because every time we open that door.
Whoa.
If you flip up, there's a light switch right
Yeah,
there.
go in, Jeff. Go right in,
No,
all the way
go
in.
Yeah, because there's nails. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
We don't want you to hit your head.
there's all these nails sticking out of the roof, and yeah, right now it's quite hot, but I imagine in the winter it'll be quite cold. So yeah, it's just this little tiny room. Looks almost like an attic would look, but
Have you guys spent time in there?
No.
You said that like that's not an option.
Right.
It isn't an option. No.
Really?
I mean, if something jumps and scares you, I mean, be honest, you're going to stand up real quick and get impaled.
That is true.
okay. This is what I'm most excited about. We're heading down to the basement. Another narrow set of stairs here. A second stairway. Yep.
Pretty loose lately.
Imagine moving in here with big beds and furniture. And all right, so now we're going down to the basement.
And this is where
All the magic happens.
In any house, a basement.
Jen,
can
you
be
go first
creepy.
in case something leaps at us. Jen, you go first.
Well, just be careful coming down here too, because the stairs are just as narrow as those other ones.
Got it. Just more rickety. Okay.
Right.
So I see some great old stonework.
Still very narrow.
You go first, just in case something jumps out.
Well, you live here. You're used to it. Okay.
It's cold and chilly down here.
It's nice, though. Oh, my gosh. Now I'm freaked out.
Yeah.
Just a bit,
In here
because it's really dark.
is one of the coolest places down here. A well.
This is the well. Look at the well.
There's an actual well.
How deep is that? Do you know?
Go look.
We don't actually know how deep it is. If you put your cell phone over there with the light, just don't drop it.
Yeah, let me do that.
You can see the bottom.
Hold on.
You can see it. Yeah, you can see the bottom. I'd say it's probably about 3 feet right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we can see
Yeah,
that.
you can see the bottom.
I mean, this looks like right out of the
I
Ring.
think it's the bottom.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But it's pretty neat to have a well in the basement.
So what has happened down here?
Probably the most creepiest thing is this box. Somebody brought to our attention. There's drawings of what seems to be a lady with a broken neck with her tongue sticking out.
All right, let's take
That's
a
a
look.
common theme, right? The hangings.
And okay, this box we're looking at, it's maybe like 3.5 feet tall. It's on its end right now. It's made of wood.
Oh, look at that.
And oh yeah, it's like a little kid drawing. Ray's taking a picture we can show you guys. Wow. So it's an old wooden box. I mean, if I had to guess, this box is what, 50, 60, 70 years old, but probably not a whole lot older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's old. It's older than us. But wow.
Now they did have a daycare here. The previous owner had a daycare
In the basement?
I won't say in the basement, but I'm not saying.
Okay, you're just in the house.
apologize.
Okay,
So
all
when
right.
they're actually in the toy box that they may have used,
no.
the wood itself does look older than the daycare, though.
All right. So
Also a window.
Yeah, the
There's a
window.
window
That's what
down
I saw
here, too.
coming down. So there's multiple rooms down here. Is that a camera?
that's
ahead
an
of us?
infrared camera
Yeah,
in front
okay.
of us. See that red light, not a
So what is
demon's
this,
eye?
like a coal chute right here?
Yeah,
What is?
that was a coal chute that goes actually upstairs to the command center that we walked into.
All right. Now, when you say command center, you have a series of screens and cameras around the house, so you can
Yes.
watch everything. How many screens do you have?
We have 2 giant screens. We got 3 DVR systems going that cover the inside and the outside.
Okay.
And how many cameras?
12 inside and 16 outside.
Nothing's happening that you're gonna miss.
Hopefully not.
All right, so there's one more back part of this basement, and then I think we've seen it all, Ray.
You think we've seen it all or enough?
Maybe enough. Yeah. Watch.
You want me to go around and switch the light?
You can.
Do you have a flashlight? It's completely dark on this half of the basement, and Jen very bravely is walking. There we go. Into the darkness.
So the light's on over there. Is there a light out in the middle?
So this is, we've got some little step down, but you can see the walls are old stonework,
Right.
and mortar and the old beams above us.
There's a wood over there that looks like a linking log.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so you can see the house has been reinforced with like literal tree trunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, holding up. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, yeah, it's got the Lincoln log indention there.
Yeah, this is great. What a house.
Yeah.
The basement's huge.
Well, yeah,
there we go.
seems to run the length of the house. Oh, and there's some light now. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, I thought I would be a little more scared coming down here,
Well, there's a group of us. If we left you down here alone, I'm sure you'd be screaming in no time.
maybe.
Now that corner over there by the furnace is where Roger would come downstairs, and the apparition would actually like rub his back and stuff like that.
Did he come downstairs for that?
He always felt that they were.
No, seriously, though. Did he know what was happening? It's like, well, I need a good back rub.
If you ever hear the story that he talks about, that like he sees the apparition and he sat at the table there in the kitchen for like 15 minutes waiting for it to come into the room, and finally he got upset and he's like, "Look, if you're gonna come into the room, or just leave me alone." And he hadn't seen it for like, what was it, a couple months?
Yeah.
And he was actually upset by it.
Like you hurt her feelings.
It's like Corey listened to episode 3 of the New England Legends podcast where Roger goes into great detail about that very story.
I'll tell you a little story. I came back off the road. I was in the jewelry business in those days. I came back off the road. I walked in the house, and the first thing I did was go to the pantry to get something to eat. So I cooked up some beautiful scallops, the real scallops, the ones that come in the shell, not that stuff they sell in restaurants. And I sat down, I started eating, and my ex-wife walked in and said, Roger, Monday is Labor Day. I says, yeah, no problem. Here, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll stay here. And she says, but that's not the problem. The kids go back to school the day after, and they need shoes. I says, oh, okay. And she says, oh, my God. She says, let's take the kids to the Little Red Shoe House in Webster, and we'll get them some shoes. I says, sweetheart, I just got in off the road. I'm tired. I just want to relax a little bit. Can we do it tomorrow? And she said, don't worry. Finish, relax, take it easy. I'll just take them myself. So she took off, and not 3 or 4 minutes after she was gone, I was sitting at the kitchen table and enjoying myself, and I turned the music. I had some good music playing, and I started to read the paper when all of a sudden in the foyer, which I was looking at, it was like 8 feet away from me, 10 feet away, the cellar door opened up, and I heard some footsteps on the stairs. And as the door opened up, it opened up about halfway, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see like a cloud or a veil of some effect that was flying into and then I says, oh my God, it's her. She knows I'm alone. She's going to try to come to me. And for about a half hour, I sat there. I couldn't even eat anymore. I was captivated with what was happening. But then, in those days, I was young, and I didn't have the patience that I've got today. Even today, I don't have that much patience. And I just looked into the foyer, and I saw this veil, and I says, look, old lady, either come in here and sit and talk to me or just get the hell out. Well, she got the hell out. She slammed that door, and for the next 5-6 months, she wouldn't come near me. So I says, oh, shoot, what did you do, Roger? What did you do? I had the opportunity of a lifetime. I could have sat there. If I'd have waited and had more patience, she would have come to me, I believe, and we could have sat there and had a conversation. I would have been the first man in history to sit down and have conversation with the spirit, and I blew it. Oh, I blew it badly.
Roger had a deep connection with that apparition.
He did. Yeah, I remember him saying, this would have
yeah, I
been
am. Why?
a first.
So there's lots of snake skins on the
Oh,
wall
yeah,
here.
look at that.
Oh, wow.
They're all
All right.
over this wall.
And we're up
Is
Because they're creepy, but
is
there's another one
there a reason?
right there.
because there's snakes down here.
There.
Is that what somebody didn't hang those? Those were.
No, I think they just come through the wall here. They come this side of the wall. They
Yeah.
tend to come through.
Okay.
And shed their skin.
Yeah,
We can
I'm,
handle
I'm a little
ghosts.
bit more scared of snakes
Not
than I am
snakes.
ghosts.
Right. Oh, man. All right, and we are now
Back up to the warmth.
back up to the main floor and heading back to where we came in.
This is amazing, Jeff.
Yeah, this is the
Now,
house.
by the way, we should tell people nothing like the movie house.
No,
No, if you're a fan of the movie, this is nothing like the movie house.
no, it doesn't look anything like it. I want to ask you guys, since being here, what are some of like the trials and tribulations of? Are you also experiencing people coming to trespass and things like that?
Yes, I think we've only had, was it just one person that actually trespassed enough to try and push their way through the door?
Yeah, we had a group of them. I think the only reason we had really an issue was because nobody here speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah, I think.
and
it
we
was
had
a
people
language
coming in that we
barrier.
knew,
Yeah.
and they thought they were just going to come in with that group,
Now
thinking
that
we were doing
now that
tours.
we have the gate up, not too many people pull past the gate. People just pull over and take pictures, and
There are signs out front, no trespassing.
We just want people to be responsible. Take pictures all you want from behind the fence.
So what's the future of the Conjuring house?
we have no idea.
Yeah, if we knew, we would tell you. To be
Going day by day.
taking it day by day.
Yeah, just trying to figure out legally what we can and can't do, and what we'll-
Allowing us to come in, so we certainly appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us in your home on Halloween.
Halloween, happy Halloween.
This is
Ooh.
amazing. So thank you so much.
Did you feel something while you were here?
You know, it's a funny thing when you're working, when you're busy, like
When you're on?
Yeah, I think it's a little different for me.
Yeah.
But we're going to shut this off and we're going to hang around for a couple more minutes, I think. If
Without
they'll let
the
us.
mics and- yeah.
Without the mics, and we'll report back by
Okay.
all means. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, guys.
very much. Thank you.
So, Ray, what did you think?
It was pretty amazing, Jeff.
Yeah.
I expected a little bit more. I did, but only because I saw the movie
Right.
and my mind was going a million miles an hour. We had a few things that actually happened to us.
We did. I remember you were sitting in that dining room area where
Yeah.
the seance took place.
I tried to get a few EVPs. I sat there alone for a
Yep.
bit, and then you guys joined me.
I did. And while the three of us, you, me, and Corey, the homeowner, are in that room, in the next room, in the library, where no one is anywhere near it, this case falls over.
A case that was leaning in the opposite direction, not like straight up where
Right.
it could have fallen or a wind could have pushed it over.
Right.
It took a lot of work for that thing to fall over.
And as you just heard, Corey talked about how this house is wired like Big Brother. He's got cameras in every room.
Right.
And so we all ran to the closed circuit TV system, and sure enough, he caught that thing falling from two different camera angles.
That's right.
Yeah.
We could see it clearly.
Which was really weird. And so, and again, you're in the Conjuring house and you say, all right, that's weird, right? That's weird. So it's a strange thing. And of course, like you said, the movie has set your expectations.
Sure.
Which are totally unrealistic.
I
of
thought I
course.
would leave possessed.
Yeah.
you
You're
know?
like, oh, I'm kind of sad. The house didn't try to eat me. I'm not possessed. Right?
Up until that point, I was.
Yeah.
And then that thing happened, and I'm like, oh, thank God, something happened.
It's definitely more subtle. Okay, so just to finish out what really happened, and so we can contrast it with the movie. So remember when Roger Perron described the seance?
Yeah.
So this is what Roger said happened right after the seance.
The Warrens came over and they did the seance in the house, and that was not a good thing. I was against it, but they did it anyway. And 3 to 5 minutes into the seance, and my wife got her whole body went out of shape and extorted. And it was like an extortion. Somebody was squeezing her, and her chair got off the floor and came right into me into the next room. And I tried to help her. You know, she was completely out of this world at that point, speaking crazy words. And I tried to help her.
So Roger punches Ed, says, "Get out of my house," and the Warrens never came back.
And that wouldn't make a very good movie, would it?
No, it wouldn't. But there's one part of the movie that bothers me the most.
It's the Bathsheba Sherman story.
Exactly. So she's the witch, the demon, the villain in the movie. Some say she murdered a baby in this house. Others say a child died while in her care here. But I found no record of it at all.
Now, we know from the census records that Bathsheba Thayer was born in 1812. She married Judson Sherman March 10th, 1844, and she lived about 6 miles away from the Arnold estate.
Which is what this house was known as back then. And that's a long commute if she were to work here. And we also found no record of any child dying in her care here or anywhere. Add to the fact that when Bathsheba died May 25th, 1885, at 72 years of age, her minister, Reverend A.H. Granger, had only wonderful things to say about her, and then she was buried in consecrated ground in the cemetery at the center of town.
So how did Bathsheba Sherman enter the story at all?
That's a good question. Lorrain Warren supposedly picked up the name Bathsheba during one of these seances. They found a Bathsheba buried in town, and suddenly a connection was made.
That's a bummer. But,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the great harm here? Isn't that just Hollywood being Hollywood?
For that, let's head over to Riverside Cemetery in the center of Burrillville. Okay, look over here, Ray. This is the Sherman family plot.
Okay, I see a little fenced-in area with several headstones.
Right. And see that rectangular base with the missing stone?
Yeah.
Well, that's where Bathsheba Sherman is buried. Her headstone isn't there because it's been vandalized so many times by people who saw the movie and came out here and kicked it over because they believed it belonged to a witch.
That's terrible.
It is. I'm not saying the house isn't haunted. I mean, there's plenty of witnesses, and shoot, we had our own little weird experience there. I'm just saying it's not fair to blame Bathsheba Sherman, who was resting in peace for maybe 120 years before suddenly she's villainized. It's just not fair.
No, it's not. So who do you think is haunting that house?
I think it's people from the Arnold family, perhaps even John Arnold. I mean, they lived there the longest. And Andrea Perron believes that ghost she saw in the kitchen may have been John Arnold. And Roger Perron said he saw the female ghost. He believed that was Mrs. Arnold. And who knows who else may have been lurking in that old house. It's been almost 3 centuries.
But it is Halloween.
And that it is.
And we're ending this journey in a graveyard after leaving one of the most iconic haunted homes in American history.
Our Celtic ancestors believed that on this night, Halloween, the veil between the world of the living and world of the dead is at its thinnest, that this is the time that ghosts and monsters can come into our world and meddle in our affairs. And I'm all for that. But I think the spirit of Bathsheba Sherman has been through enough already. I mean, let the other spirits come forth tonight. Bathsheba deserves some rest.
Happy Halloween to all of our legendary listeners. We'll be back to our usual strange but true New England legends next week, just as we have been every Thursday for the past 115 weeks.
And if you'd like to see some pictures of the Conjuring house taken by the great Frank Grace, who joined us on our adventure, head over to our website, ournewenglandlegends.com, and click on episode 115. Our website is the place where you can find our super secret Facebook group, all of the past episodes, our Legend Line phone number, clips from the New England Legends television series on PBS and Amazon Prime, and links to everything else we do, including my ongoing story tour and the 2020 Haunted New England Wall Calendar that I produce with Frank Grace.
We'd like to thank Corey and Jen Heinzen for allowing us into their home.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank Roger Perron and the Perron family for sharing their story. And thank you to all of our legendary listeners. If you enjoy our stories each week, please consider telling a friend or two about the show. And of course, our theme music is by John Judd.
Hi, this is Will calling from the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Until next time, remember, the bizarre is closer than you think.